To say that there is a bit of a controversy regarding the War of the Rohirrim animated movie, especially among die-hard fans of Tolkien's works, would be a bit of an understatement. The main reason for this is the movie's depiction of Hera, who will be the film's main protagonist, despite being an obscure character in the books. Let's examine the facts and see why the movie's portrayal of the character is causing controversy and if it could actually work. Before I start, I want to mention that there are several problems when adapting War of the Rohirrim, mainly because the source material isn't a book or even a coherent story with descriptions or dialogue. Rather, the source material consists of a few paragraphs in the appendices, more specifically the section about the House of Eorl. As such, characters can pop out of nowhere, leave the story abruptly, and entire lines can cover whole decades or even centuries. One of these problems is Hera. We're gonna start with what Tolkien actually wrote about her. She was the daughter of Helm Hammerhand, the ninth king of Rohan, and had two brothers, Halef and Hama. Given that she was of the line of Eorl, she likely had blonde hair and was quite tall. She isn't actually named, something that should tell you just how big her role in the story was. But for simplicity's sake, we're still gonna call her Hera. In 2754, Freka, a powerful lord of Rohan, who also had Dunlandish blood, asks that Hera be married to his son Wulf. Helm refuses, the situation escalates, and it ends with Helm killing Freka. And that's literally the last time we ever hear about Hera in the lore. We don't know what she did during the war with the Dunlandings, nor do we know her fate. She could have been slain, or she could have taken refuge in the mountains, maybe even at Dunharrow with her cousin Frealof. If she survived the war and the long winter, she would be left mourning her dead father and brothers. So how does Warner Brother adapt Hera? Another disclaimer, the movie isn't out at the time of this video, and all we have are two trailers and some promotional images. So I'll try to piece together what we know about the story. Like I said, Hera will be the film's main character. She's apparently the fastest rider in Rohan and is quite athletic. When Wolf asks her in marriage, Hera refuses. Apparently the two have known each other and were friends at one point. When the Dunlandings attack, she's at Edoras and is seemingly captured when the city falls. After trying to reason with Wolf, Hera goes on a journey through Rohan, encountering a Mumakil, a great eagle, and what appears to be the Watcher in the Water. Eventually, she makes her way to the Sufberg, where she fights alongside Helm and his men, and apparently witnesses her father's death. After this, she confronts Wolf in a fight. Again, keep in mind that all of this comes from a trailer. In saying this, one thing is clear. The movie will greatly expand Hera's role, maybe a bit too much. First of all, making her the main protagonist alone raised many eyebrows, given how little of a role she plays in the appendices before completely disappearing. Furthermore, many fear that putting Hera at the center of the conflict will take away screen time from characters Tolkien actually wrote about, mainly Helm and Frealof. It also doesn't help that almost all of her adventures in occupied Rohan are completely made up by the screenwriters. All of these are justified fears, as history has already proven when people who aren't the author of a story start writing their own things in, it never truly goes well. So now that we know why Hera is such a sensitive topic, let's see if the movie's portrayal can actually work. Well, there are actually some benefits to having her as the main character. There is a lot of room for the writers to expand Hera's character. They also wouldn't be starting from scratch, as there is a base in the lore for Helm's daughter, especially taking into consideration her family. Another advantage would be that Hera would connect almost all of the main characters, Helm, Frealof, and Wolf. Speaking of Wolf, let's talk about his made-up relationship with Hera. The two appear to have been friends during their childhood. Unlike other changes such as the Haradrim in Rohan or the Snow Troll, this is actually interesting and much more plausible. Given how powerful Freka was, it isn't out of the question that his son would have befriended Helm's daughter. Helm also mentions that Freka doesn't want Hera to marry Wolf because of an alliance, but because of the throne of Rohan. In the books, Freka's plan isn't known, but this take is also plausible and very intriguing. It also makes Hera and the whole marriage proposal a much bigger thing than it actually was. So, is the depiction of Hera in War of the Rohirrim truly accurate to what Tolkien wrote? Not really. Is it interesting? Totally. Can it work? Yes, it all depends on the writers. One more point would be that having Helm Hammerhand or Frealov as the main character would also cause problems. Helm dies while the action is still going on, and for a good part of the story is pinned down at the Sufberg. Frealov doesn't really do anything until the climax, and is mostly also stuck at Dunharrow. So maybe Hera was the right choice after all. Thank you for watching. At first I wasn't a big fan of having Helm's daughter play such a huge role, but gradually and especially after making this video, the concept doesn't seem as bad. I'm very excited for War of the Rohirrim, and much of what I have seen really impressed me.